I'd really feel bad about it. And every now and then, in a very perverse way, having this ability to know what you're going to say in advance, or having this ability to make you say what I want you to say. I'll see a new show where I'm basically, there's self-serving shows. I basically want you to say things so I'll feel even worse about how I really am. And that's what we did yesterday. Like I said, I live in my own little world, and I'm not trying to be cute. I'm telling you straight out that I just don't plain understand myself. I don't understand you. I don't understand what in the hell is going on. Some lady on the North Shore gets into her car, drunk, takes out some other woman, kills her, then plows into a restaurant. Judge gives her 7 days in jail and suspends her driver's license for 2.5 years. I don't understand that. Now, if this girl got herself all tanked up and picked up a chair and went swinging it down the street and bashed somebody over the head and killed them, she'd have probably got the chair. But no, she did it in a car, so she gets 7 days in jail and her driver's license suspended for 2.5 years. I don't understand that. Gorbachev. You remember Smiling Mike? Gorby comes down on Bush like a ton of bricks for not granting more visas to Russian nationals who want to leave the Soviet Union and come to this country. Did you know that? Oh, don't feel too bad about it. I didn't know it until this morning either. It's true. Gorbachev comes down on Bush like a ton of bricks. There's some alderman, William Henry, Bill Henry. He wants to require grocers to be fluent in English. Now, on the surface, that seems to be the most outrageous, stupid, asinine thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. I mean, is that the biggest problem we got in Chicago? Is that the biggest problem in his district? Well, yeah, it is. And it's also not so crazy. It's not nearly as crazy as it sounds. But along the way, the alderman makes a total ass of himself with a stupid remark about, I just speak in Mexican. The guy's not too cool. But here's an issue here. And there's no satisfactory answer. I mean, this is America, right? Yeah, you know it's America. I know it's America. And in America, you're free to be stupid. You have constitutional guarantees to be as stupid as you want to be. Stupid enough to open a business and conduct it in a language that's foreign to the vast majority of your potential customers. But this is America. And don't you have a right to kind of expect the local grocer should be able to speak the language? You got that right, don't you? Okay, so it's not, it's not the 19th Amendment, and it's not specifically spelled out, but I mean, come on. Well, it's not exactly a problem in my neighborhood, but so I guess it's not my problem. It's not really an issue in my life. I don't really care. Except from an intellectual point of view, it's something to break open a bottle of wine and slice off some brie and sit around and discuss for a while before moving on to some other burning issue, like, whether or not people should be prejudiced against homosexuals. Or maybe another burning issue like that little home wrecker, Nadia Comaneci, however the hell she says her name. Who cares anyway? I mean, last week she was a refugee from the evil constraints of communism. This poor child had to run away, walk through the desert or the swamp or something for 6 hours. She was a seeker of freedom and democracy. Now we find out that it's not so much a case of her being a political refugee as it is a case of her wanting to be with her boyfriend, who just so happens to be married and the father of 4 young kids and hadn't bothered to tell his wife that he was fooling around with Nadia Comaneci. I think she knows now. I think she saw it in the paper. And it is not so much a case of being a political refugee as it is a case of wanting to sell her life story to the movies and then star in the movie as well. This is a crazy world. We've got a mayor who creates a damn near a $70,000 a year gig and gives it to his brother-in-law, and he can't understand how that might look fishy to some people. And he says, hey, don't look at me. Look at Alderman Rash. He's got a brother who works for the city. Huh? You know, I am totally and completely overwhelmed by the political process in the city. And if I may indulge upon you, well, let me take care of some business here and come back and talk to you about that aspect. I mean, I will assume that most of the people I'm speaking with were born and raised, at least in this area, and find all of this stuff to be, common and normal. But for those of us who are not born and raised in this area, well, let me give you some views, okay, in just a moment. But before that, I should tell you that we can expect falling temperatures. Fair skies, but cold temperatures tonight. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, but cold. Tonight's low 10, today's high history. Tomorrow's high, about 22 degrees. Currently 29 for the official temp, 31 along the lakefront. WLS Skyview Traffic with Bill Keller is next. This edition brought to you by Crazy Calls.
Bob, a fairly average to light day on the expressways.
You see, most days I walk in here and I feel kind of invincible, and today I feel kind of like an average guy. I'm as confused as I can possibly be. I'm confused about all kinds of things. And one of the things I've always done while I've been doing this format is talk to my audience, and I haven't done that an awful lot with you guys. And maybe I should do it more, I don't know. Well, I'm going to do it today. Okay, before the break, I said I'm totally overwhelmed by the political process and the political system. And the players, the practices, the gall. I don't think I'll ever figure it out. And the whole scheme of things politically in this town, I mean, all of my life I've heard things about Chicago politics. I mean, it's a joke all over the country. But I had no idea just how bizarre it was. Nobody could. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to figure out what is going on. And hell, I've only got another 30 years left. How am I supposed to figure out in 30 years what's going on around here politically? There's this thing called the slate-making committee. I think it amounts to an anointing. I'm not sure, but to the best I can tell, it's that the Democrats in this town have had or still do have such a stranglehold on things that whoever the party endorses is all but assured of being elected. That's what I think is going on. I mean, I am terrified. I am terrified of walking into a voting booth only to discover that I don't know who the hell to vote for. Every day I learn that there are at least 2 or 3 elected offices, different elective offices, that I've never heard of. And that there are several new names being bandied about. I mean, Joe Blow Kowalski is squawking about being snubbed in favor of Harry Jones-Eskonovich for the powerful office of third alternative assistant to the parking meter commissioner. Huh? The blacks are screaming because they're not fairly representative, so they're threatening to go off in a huff. The Latinos are screaming. The women are screaming. Everybody's screaming. There are rumors of Republicans cutting deals with Democrats saying, well, we won't run what's-his-face against what's-his-name. If you won't run who's-a-majiggets against our guy, that way you get this and we get that. This is very, very, very strange. I mean, how in the name of God does this place survive? Why does it survive? How does it work? I talk to people on the phone back in Tampa or in Philadelphia or wherever I've been, from Lake Michigan. But there's no such place. It's a confederation of 50 fiefdoms with almost nothing in common except for the Bears in the fall and the Indians, whichever baseball team is doing better in the summer. And yet somehow it seems to almost work. It works better than most towns. How? Why? I don't know. It confuses the hell out of me. But it's no different throughout the rest of the country. Everybody's into his own little thing. There's some lady in New York. Probably a nice lady. She's trying to get some legislation passed. You know those perfume ads in the newspapers and the magazines? She wants to get them taken out. Her husband, he had an allergy. He smelled one of the ads. It triggered a reaction and he died. So that's what she's devoting her life to, getting these ads taken out of magazines. Is she crazy? Probably not. There's a kid in Massachusetts.
Good kid. All-American boy. He wanted to invite his mom to a father and son sports banquet. They said no. They said there wasn't enough room for women. So the kid bailed out, and they canceled the banquet. The reason? Well, like I said, not enough room. The real reason, not enough room. Not enough room because this is some kind of a male thing where middle-aged men gather around to honor young studs who amuse the old dudes by trying to maim each other or humiliate each other on the playing field. Well, each and every one of these things is silly. Each and every one of these things that I just talked about is absolutely silly. The grocers who don't speak English, the magazines with the perfumes, the father and son banquet, the politics in Chicago. It's all stupid. It's all silly. And each and every one of them are very, very important. At least to somebody. And everybody is somebody, and, everybody is entitled to have their needs and wants and desires addressed and their rights protected and all that kind of good stuff. But who in the hell is right and who in the hell is wrong? Because somebody's got to be right and somebody's got to be wrong, don't they? Well, we'll continue the conversation.
Intellectual. A man who has a heart and a brain, we're finding out today.
Give me a break, Johnson. Give me a break.
You're giving him the compliments and he won't even take them. He's recognizing.
Just go change the ribbons on the news wire.
Lassiter.
Thank you, Johnson. I make my living by talking, which in and of itself is an incredibly bizarre thing. I mean, this world that we live in, we actually pay people to lead conversations on the radio. I'm grateful that we do. I mean, otherwise I'd probably be loading boxes somewhere and dropping them on my feet and hurting myself. I'm talking about things like what I mentioned in the first part of the hour. And the only way I can do that is by caring one way or the other. It's the only way I know how to do it. There are other guys in this business that don't work that way, and that's all fine and well. They're entitled to their thing. I'm entitled to mine. And in many ways, you're lucky. You're very, very lucky. I mean, you don't have to care at all. All you got to do is pay your bills, lock your doors at night, take care of your family, do the dishes, before you get bugs, and then outside of that, you don't have to do an awful lot. But 5 days a week, I get up in the morning. I put on a ratty old robe. I stumble down the hall. I get a cup of coffee. I go over to the front door. I open it up. I reach down. Invariably, the guy that throws the Sun-Times on the floor has done so in such a way that it's all scattered all over the hall, and I'm out there in my ratty old robe, trying to pick it up, hoping that none of my neighbors open their doors and see me in the ratty old robe. I go back to the table, and I open it up. And in essence, I say to myself, what am I going to care about today? What am I going to have an opinion on today? That's a hell of a way to start your day. What am I going to care about that I didn't care about yesterday? What am I going to have an opinion on today that I didn't have an opinion on yesterday? That's the way every day starts for me. And only a fraction of these things actually directly affect me in my real life, my real life away from this microphone. But this microphone is part of my real life. And in a way, all of the people who are affected by all of these weird little things, like the lady in her perfume and the one who ran over the person, and none of these things are really my problem, but they're all part of my life to one degree or another. So today, today I find myself caring about 5, 10 different things. Things I didn't know I cared about yesterday, plus the things that are going on in my own world, and so I'm having trouble dealing with it. I don't know which one to care about more, which one to care about less. I don't even know what my opinion should be. Let me go through some of these things with you again. I am a human being. I know that some of you find that hard to believe, but to hell with you. And as a human being, I claim for myself certain inalienable rights. The right to self-determination, the right to be stupid or smart, tolerant or intolerant, the right to live where I want to live, with whom I want to live with, and all that kind of good stuff. I also claim for myself the right to know what's best for everybody else in the world. Hey, I'm no different than you. It's just that sometimes we differ on what's best for everybody else in the world. But I read in the paper this morning that Smiling Mike has grabbed us by the gazongas, and he's squeezing. When he chided the Bushman for for being stingy with the visas. All these years of screaming and moaning, let the people go! Open the Iron Curtain! Let the people go! People must have the freedom to go where they want to go! Mike says, okay. We say, Mike, could you let him go someplace else? I say,
Oh, jeez. Oh, why do we do these kinds of things? Why do we make fools of ourselves?
and then I take it a step further and say,
Oh, jeez, why do we do these kinds of things? And the last thing we need is a new wave of immigrants in this country. A couple of 100,000 weirdo Russian Jews who don't speak the language, who have no concept as to what democracy or capitalism is all about. We don't need this. Where are they going to end up? They're going to end up in the poor neighborhoods. They're going to end up messing things up. They're going to end up upsetting the balance, and it's not fair. It's not fair to anybody. I mean, a whole slew of people who have no idea what's going on, who have no idea what they're getting into. Who needs it? I mean, my God, we haven't recovered from the last wave of immigration. And we're not dealing too well with the current wave of immigration. This is insanity. You ever been to Miami? It's a city that was stolen by immigrants. New York, Chicago, cities irreparably altered by immigrants. Neighborhoods have been totally erased by immigrants. TV and radio signals have been taken over and filled with gibberish that I can't understand. And they're run by people who really don't seem to want to get with the program. Yeah, I know all about assimilation. Assimilation, that's what happened when my people came here. But there's a major difference. My people came here in a 20 or 30 year period, and then they stopped coming. But this is just wave after wave after wave after wave of immigrants. We've already lost one city in this country to immigrants. We're on the verge of losing several others. And it's causing real problems. Causing problems like the grocery stores in Chicago, where they don't speak English. That's a real problem. And then you get a politician who speaks out and says, hey, this ain't right. We got to do something about it. And people who don't suffer the problem jump all over the guy for his supposedly stupid idea, an idea of making sure that people who have grocery store licenses know how to speak English. And it sounds, I guess, like a stupid idea. And then because the guy is the product of an admittedly poor educational system, he complicates matters more by saying something really stupid like, well, they're talking Mexican in those grocery stores. And then the rest of the people come down on him for being not only stupid, but a bigot. And meanwhile, the real problem, the real issue gets lost. Americans are being run out of their neighborhoods by foreigners. Sure, freedom-loving, domestic process-loving foreigners would be Americans, supposedly. So the Native Americans, who tend to be poor and black or poor and white, move into other neighborhoods where the grocer does speak English, but they disrupt that community and end up changing it. And the old neighbors, upset with the change, flee to the suburbs, taking their jobs and their values with them. And again, neighborhoods just get erased, and on and on and on it goes. It seems to be an incredibly vicious cycle. And there stands Smiling Mike. Has us where it hurts because he's right. And so is the Bush. And so is Alderman Henry. They're all right. And then there's that little homewrecker, Nadia Comaneci. I mean, if ever there was someone claiming political asylum who deserved to be packed off on the first flight out of here, it's this broad. She brings with her every undesirable quality that she could. She comes here not seeking political asylum. She comes here seeking a married man with 4 kids. When it's pointed out to her, she says, for what? We don't find any traditional family values there, do we?
She comes here not seeking political asylum, but she comes here seeking fame and fortune. She wants to get rich quick and be a movie star. No work ethic there. No indication that she led a life of deprivation or misery in Romania. No indication that she was in danger for her political thoughts or values or beliefs. She's just a spoiled brat who wants it all. Wealth, fame, somebody else's husband. Obviously, she'll fit in just fine. But she's not what we need. And she has nothing to offer. And she ought to be sent packing. And the fact that she's a greedy little snot-nosed brat who doesn't like life in Romania ain't my problem. And she's taken up space that would be far better filled by someone else. So what do you think the odds are of that happening? What do you think the odds are of her being sent packing back to Romania where she ought to be? You know, the fact of the matter is that virtually none of these refugees, the immigrants, are political refugees. They're all economic refugees. They want the buck. They want the buck far more than they want the Bill of Rights. And I'll go to my grave believing that. But they aren't really any different from the rest of us in that respect. The main problem is that they disrupt the place and they scare the natives, who also have rights. The right to live their lives in peace and tranquility. This is an incredibly unfair world. I mean, some places are rich. Some places are dirt poor. Some places can't feed themselves. Other places produce too much. Some places are ruled by tyrants. Some places are ruled by the democratic process. And some places the grocer doesn't speak the language. So what do you do? What do you do? Especially when everybody is right and almost nobody is wrong. Tell you the truth, I've got great admiration for people that come to this country. Work and save and sprint and sacrifice and make it. Most of us who are born here, we don't know how to do that. We've never had to do it. And you know, I also have sympathy for the people who resent that. I have sympathy for the people who don't know how to do it. And feel a little bummed out that these foreigners come here and do it. I also resent the fact that they come in to disrupt the lives of the people who are born here. And I get particularly bent out of shape when they step on my toes. Or when they offend me, like, you know, the little home wrecker. She offends me. I don't think she should be here. I think she should be sent home. And I get real nervous when I turn on the radio and I can't understand the right-wing lunatics and what they're saying on the air in cities like Miami, and who knows, maybe here too. And I get real unhappy when I answer my phone and the person on the other end is speaking in a foreign language. I mean, hell, I get real unhappy when I answer the phone and it's somebody speaking in my own language that I want to talk to. But I get even unhappier when it's a machine or somebody speaking a foreign language, and I suppose it won't be too far off until I answer the phone and find out that it's a machine speaking a foreign language to me. I'm only human. And then, of course, I remember that I wouldn't be here if Teddy Roosevelt had been as stingy with visas as the Bush is. But that was then, and this is now, and things were different then, and besides, it wasn't my problem, but it is my problem now. And I'm impatient, and I'm confused as all hell. And that's why sometimes I tend to step back and look at issues from a macro rather than a micro angle. Things like homosexuality or race relations or religion. My views are right on all of those things. It's just that life is micro and it's not macro, and everybody is right. And nobody's wrong, but everybody is wrong. It's just that some days there are so damn many things to care about. And who's to say what deserves more attention? But, hey, that's what I get paid to do. I get paid to decide what deserves more attention. I probably ended up confusing the hell out of you. But then I'm confused. Can you make any sense out of what's going on? I mean, what do you want to do about all this weirdness, about all these crazy things going on? Now, we talked for the first couple of hours with somebody from Now. And most of what they want's reasonable. don't quite understand why the rest of us don't think they're reasonable, and nothing really changed. And nothing's going to change about anything that we might talk about this afternoon that's going on in the world. You got a free shot today. I'm not the opinionated man that I normally am. Because I don't know what the answers are to these things. But I know that they're real. I know that the people that live in the black communities with the Mexican grocers who can't go in and speak with a guy, order what they want, are very frustrated. And then they have a right to be. And I know that the Mexicans have a right to be there too. And I know that Representative Henry is not crazy. And he is not stupid. And he's doing what he gets paid to do to represent the interests of his people. And I know that it doesn't affect most of us. I listened to some conversation this morning about this very topic. I was only half listening. I'm not sure that I really even heard what was being said, but I thought I heard some really crazy, bizarre things. It somehow got involved in, if the blacks don't want Mexican grocers, let them open up their own stores, and people from grocery store chains saying, well, we got out because, they rob us and steal from us, but that's not the issue. These are all side issues. And we do have a problem with immigration in this country. And the problem stems from the lowest of the low, whose name we will never know, to the highest of the high, like, the little bimbo, house breaker, home wrecker. I don't know. Let me give you the telephone numbers. Maybe all of this makes more sense to you than it makes to me. Probably not, but what the hell. 591-8900, 591-8900. What do you do? What do you do about all this weirdness? It's going to be fair tonight, much colder. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, but continued cold. An overnight low of 10, a high tomorrow of about 22. 29 is the official temp, 31 along the lakefront. Bill Keller with the WLS Sky View traffic. This edition brought to you by, he turns the page, Preview.
Bob Lassiter.
Oh, what the hey, let's take some phone calls. Arcadia, hi, you're on the air at WLS.
Yeah, Bob, just want to thank you for your monologue this evening. I thought that was super. I never heard anybody put it quite the way you do, although I don't know how many...
Well, what did I say, except that I'm confused?
I think that's what you said, but you did it very eloquently. I'm going to... Can I grab the micro point, I guess, for a minute? I'll tell you what confuses me, and there's no answer for it, not tonight anyway. And it's some of the things that have been brought up in the abortion issue, and, I sit around and I look at this thing, and I guess I don't know how to be one thing or the other, whether it's pro-life or pro-choice, because I try to think, I'm sensitive to both sides of those things, but, that's a no-win situation.
Everything's a no-win situation anymore. Probably always has been.
What you brought up really is a no-win situation, Bob. That's frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
And, the thing is, there are pro-choice people that I like. There's pro-life people that I like. There's pro-choice people I adamantly dislike. There's pro-life people I adamantly dislike. Just keep listening to you, and, I kind of sensitive to the point of women's rights, because I grew up in a situation where, maybe if one of us kids hadn't been born, it might have been better, and it was tough. On the other hand, later on I worked with autistic children, and I had a tough time saying that, I can't believe any one of those children is not worthwhile, no matter how tough it is for them and their families. And then I've got a friend of mine up there in the Chicago area that had almost an identical background and very similar experiences, who sees it exactly the opposite. So I've always come down a little bit on the pro-life side, but I get after my pro-life friends for saying, if we get our way and abortion is eventually banned, the woman's not a criminal. No way. And you're going to have to figure out how to deal with the aftermath. And nobody seems to want to think about that. So, that's all I really wanted to say.
Sounds like you're as confused as I am. But we're all confused.
Just wanted to join you out there in the gray area somewhere tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Take care. Off it is to Berwyn. Hi, Burr. You're on air, WLS.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Hi, just turned on the radio and I heard you talking about immigrants and things like that. And I think we should be a little bit more tolerant. I don't know how many people, Americans, have ever lived overseas But it's not that easy being a foreigner.
No, it's terribly difficult. Terribly
we lived
difficult.
in the military, and we lived in Germany for 3 years.
Yeah, but you say we should be more tolerant. Well, the fact of the matter is, immigration doesn't really affect most of us because most of us don't live in the types of neighborhoods where immigrants tend to congregate. But what about all those people that lived in those neighborhoods? Their lives are totally disrupted.
I don't know. They're also enriched, too.
Well,
I live in Berwyn, and besides living in Berwyn, I work in the service industry. I come in contact with a variety of different people. And they want the same things for their children that we want for ours.
well, yeah, I want the right to be able to pick up and trot off to Canada or Brazil or France if I get fed up here or if I just want to go lay on the beach or whatever it might be. That's an inalienable right, as far as I'm concerned, for me to go wherever I want to go. But, what about the disruption of the lives of the people who are, dislocated themselves by the new people? It's not right that there are areas in this city where people have lived all of their lives and now they can't go to the grocery store and order a can of coffee because the guy on the other side of the counter doesn't speak the language and has no apparent interest in learning it. He doesn't have to.
Well, I agree that they should there should be some kind of a period of time when they do try to want to enter the mainstream.
Well,
but I think you don't realize how hard it is.
Well, of course I don't. I have no point of reference.
I lived in Germany, and even when Americans go over there, we expected the people, the Germans, to know how to speak English.
But you see what
we walked in their stores,
but what I do have a point of reference with is living in a community that was dominated by people who didn't speak the language.
Well, I live in Berwyn, and you have a variety of different people, and sometimes it's not just you can communicate to people. I've got customers who don't speak any English at all, and I'm able to go in there and perform my job, and somehow we communicate. On some level, we communicate.
I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob.
Take care. I've got to communicate with Johnson.
This is WLS Talk Radio 890.
WLS Chicago.
At the sound of the tone, 6 o'clock.
Why is this
Specials?
No Sally Jesse?
No Best of Rush?
No Best of Rush.
All the way till 7?
We're going to be It's Just You, Babe.
Wow.
And, of course, we may break in with a pun at any time. I'm Jim Johnson, WLS Talk Radio 890 News. Now, here's more talk with the introspective, sensitive. A new man has walked into Bob Lassiter's body. I love this new man.
Oh. Get your hands off me. Don't you put your tongue in my ear.
I was going to whisper something.
That's what you said the last time.
Well, I did.
Welcome back, Fun Seekers. Fourth and final hour. Oh, why do I... December the 6th. I'm really glad that my mother is not around to see this. Wednesday, December the 6th, 1989. Lassiter with you at WLS Talk Radio 890, Chicago's talk station. Terrified, absolutely terrified of this audience today. The board's full, and that means they think they know what I said. Arlington Heights, hi, you're on the air at WLS.
Oh, good afternoon, Bob.
Hi.
I am glad that I stayed tuned and listened to you because I feel like I know where you're coming from now. Many times when I listened, it feels like, I would hang up or turn the radio off because I was annoyed at you, but I think you're probably playing the devil's advocate.
No, I'm not playing the devil's advocate. Not at all. That under other circumstances would insult me. Under these circumstances, I won't be insulted. I am just like everybody else. I know what's right, I know what's wrong, and I also know the way I handle it. And it's usually neither totally right nor totally wrong.
Well, no one can tell which side you're on when you're talking. I mean, in some instances. So, but today, it came through, and I happen to agree with you on several things. But, I'm not a mental giant, and I just wanted to comment on the situation with the immigrants and so forth. It doesn't take a mental giant to know something is really happening in the United States. I don't know what it is, but it seems like since the boat people, the Cubans, and the this and the that, it's really changing. And you go downtown in Chicago and L.A. and so forth, and you see different languages on signs, in grocery stores and the whole town almost. I think we're threatened, like a feeling that we're losing the American way of life.
Well, there's one thing that is very, very strange about this latest wave of immigration to this country, and that is that they seem to be people who have no particular interest in becoming quote-unquote Americanized, whatever the hell that means. And it's easier for them not to than it's ever been before. And one of the reasons that it's easier is because of radio and television. In Miami, 9 Spanish-language radio stations, 3 Spanish-language television stations. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how many stations there are in Chicago, but I don't have cable. I have community antenna. I only get 8 stations. One of them is Spanish, and damn it, right or wrong, I object. Severely object.
I don't mind one, but when you get in the airport and you hear the foreign language being spoken and you have to listen for English, it's it's quite startling here in this country. And another thing that you mentioned about so many coming over at once, and it's getting more and more now. I always thought about this too, and in fact in Israel it happens to be a certain size state, and they keep asking people to come in, and I'm wondering, where are they going to put them, and what are they going to do, take more land? I mean, what's going to happen in this country? Can we keep doing that? I mean, right now we have no land in certain suburbs. They've taken that all. They're wall-to-wall houses almost, and I mean, where's it going to stop?
I'm opposed to English language amendments, and I'm opposed to laws that dictate people do this or dictate that people do that, and I'm opposed to silly regulations like, for a license for a grocery store, you have to prove that you're proficient in English. But I don't know what else to do anymore. I just don't know what in the hell else to do.
Well, it's certainly changing, and I don't know what the answer is either, but I think we're losing our old ways, which I'm not, I'm pretty fond of, and I imagine a lot of people are too. But I don't know if we can assimilate all these people. I don't think so. They're probably going to assimilate us.
Who knows? Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. 5918900. Country Club Hills. Hi, Country. You're on the air. WLS.
Is this Country Club Hills you're talking to?
Yep.
I never hear the first part. Well, I want...
Could you speak up a little bit?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I feel it's not about how long people have been here. Blacks, for example, have been here over 500 years to speak English, and somebody still finds fault and upset if they move in the neighborhood. That is not because they can't speak the language. I think people are a bit petty. Either they have little to do or they don't have a solution to their own personal problems. So it's like complain.
Well, you say people are petty. Yeah, of course we're petty. I'm petty, you're petty.
People do not move in the neighborhood. There's a first a vacancy. Then secondly, there's either a seller or a landlord who knows very well whose money he or she is taking. So that person when they get angry with them, they are their friends and neighbors. You don't get mad if somebody's looking for a place to stay. Do you realize that many times an individual, just because of their color, can run all over the entire world with money in their hands and have someone turn them down just because they're black, just because they're whatever. I can recall my house burned down. I had a home that I was very happy with. The house burned, and my daughter was a fire at Carson. And somehow there was 7 places for rent in Oak Park. And at that time, we had to wait until the adjusters and all that business. They had to have a place. My daughter had to go to work. The other daughter had to go to the hospital to work. And I had to go to work. Do you know, we stood in front of a building where the guy said it was for rent. It was in the paper. And he looked at it, a friend, his opponent, at the wheel, he off the engine, and he said, all these people can't come in. You can come in. They'll have to stay in the car. I was the one that needed the apartment. And I said, no, you go in, because you're the one looking for the place. He said, well, I'm sorry, we've already decided to rent it to a person who's a buyer at Carson. So my daughter asked if the name, repeated the name. Yes. She said, well, that's me. Then he says, well, to tell you the truth, I'm not prejudiced, but you see, when they move in the neighborhood, they have a tendency to invite all their relatives to come and sit on the floor. I said, sir, do you know something? I have one brother. He has a beautiful Mount Vernon home in Alexandria, Virginia. He had no intention of moving in on a pallet on my floor. But at that point, he came up with another excuse. So this is not about people speaking English. It is not about anything other than pettiness.
Well,
let
me converse with you.
We came out here.
Well, let me talk to you, because I happen to be one of the very few, I would imagine, white people who has actually suffered housing discrimination. You've just reminded me of something that happened in my life about 15 years ago. It was shortly after I was married the first time. I was living in Norfolk, Virginia. There was an apartment that I wanted desperately. It was a beautiful place. It was far better than what we were living in, and I could afford it. And they wouldn't rent to me. They wouldn't rent to me. This is a very bizarre story, and I had totally forgotten this.
Yes.
They wouldn't rent to me because the building was owned by a gay guy, and he wanted all 8 apartments in there. Well, yes, I do. But here's the other side. While I have suffered the discrimination, and I thought it was an outrage, and I still do think it's an outrage, when I'm really honest with myself, I find myself saying and believing, well, damn, why can't I live with who I want to live with? Why can't I rent to who I want to rent to, or sell who I want to who I want to sell to? Both sides are right. It is wrong to discriminate. It is wrong to be petty, but it's also wrong to force somebody to do something.
Well, no one was forcing this guy to do anything. He's standing out on the sidewalk trying to insult people. We were well-dressed.
You were dealing with a cowardly bigot. You were dealing with a cowardly bigot who didn't want to tell you the truth.
But the bottom line is this. He did not have to rent his place to anybody. He could close it down. That's his business. And, he's also standing there saying, well, I'm not here prejudiced. Now, there's a guy who just moved down the street here, and everybody else wanted to burn his house down. And I said, no, let's wait. Let's see if he cuts his grass. I said, are you discussing a man who took his money and for a house?
And 002 Des Plaines, we go. Hi there, Dish, you're on the air.
Hello, Bob.
Hi.
Hi, this is Jerry from Des Plaines.
How you doing?
I have a comment to make. The Statue of Liberty welcomes people from all economic, ethnic, and social backgrounds.
Yep.
As Americans.
That means a hell of a lot to me.
Pardon?
And it means a hell of a lot to me.
Well, it does mean a lot to me. As Americans, we must understand and show compassion for people that speak different languages. Newcomers have the right to work, live, and advance as far as he or she can.
Absolutely.
Pardon?
Absolutely. I don't quarrel with that.
This is the American way of life. This makes the American dream come true for a lot of people.
But do not Americans also have a right to tranquility in their communities, in their neighborhoods?
They surely have.
Is not that tranquility upset? But is that tranquility not upset when there's a wave of immigrants who suddenly move in?
The wave of immigrants that come in add to our society. They add a new restaurant. They'll add a new idea. In fact, it will advance our society. This is what makes America.
That's great rhetoric.
It's the truth.
Well, yeah, yes, it is true, but it is also true that they disrupt things. And it's also true that the current wave of immigrants don't seem to show any great rush into getting into the program here.
It's the president's idea because...
No, it's a fact.
No, it isn't a fact. It's a fact.
They have stolen cities.
Henry said this. I disagree.
My dad was a genius. Yeah, so we didn't have any money, but we weren't poor. We ate not of life itself, and we didn't have credit available to us. My dad never had any form of credit. We paid cash, we didn't have it. My dad didn't own a car, a telephone, or a TV set for that matter. So and we didn't miss it because we couldn't see on TV what other people had. And the people who lived near us were of the same circumstances. They all worked in the same, or one of the same type factories, earned about the same amount of money, so there was no envy. Guy next door didn't have a 10-speed. As a matter of fact, I don't think 10 speeds existed then, but he didn't have a 10-speed, so I didn't envy him his 10-speed. And that's where now I think, credit is a serious problem. Government supplements are another serious problem. And the woman who spoke just recently said that, hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Spoke just recently said about we don't owe them anything, the people coming over. God, I would love more of them to come over. They're the businessmen of now and the future. They come here not speaking the language, a few shekels in their pocket, disturb no one. Their crime and welfare rate is extremely
low.
No
one. They do disturb people. They don't disturb you.
No, I mean actual legal disturbance, as opposed to disturbing their mind. So they don't do that. They don't cause near as much grief as some of the people we have here already, and they get employment rather quickly. So maybe in many cases because they're illegal, they take low wages and they're hidden away, but they're taking jobs that other people don't want anyhow. It's not a matter of them stealing employment from anyone else, except for the doctors, of course. That's about all I have to say. I thank you for the time.
To a car phone we go. Hi, car. You're on the air, WLS.
Yes, sir. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Oh, confused.
It sounds like you're equally frustrated and also searching for some answers. I want to comment on two issues. First of all, the issue of tolerance. I think that it has to be part of a innate human fundamental right to be able to dislike and disappreciate people for the way they behave, for the background that they come from. When you cross the line between
my friend, you're breaking up so bad we are having trouble understanding what you're saying. I really apologize, but unfortunately it's just gone. The signal is just not there. To the South Side, we go. Hi, South. You're on the air, WLS.
Yeah.
Hi.
No, this is Bill. Listen, Lassiter. WLS is one of the intellectual people on the program I've ever heard. But you missed one thing on Chicago.
What's that?
I've been voting for the past 45 years, and I don't think my vote has ever been counted.
Well, maybe it's been counted 3 or 4 times.
No, it hasn't.
I'm totally befuddled.
I've always voted against the judges. I've always voted against Nobody has ever checked how the hell they vote, how the hell they count the vote.
This company brought me to this market about a month before I actually went on the air, and the whole purpose of my coming here was to, quote-unquote, learn the city, get to know the politicians, get to figure out where I am. I've been here now for 5 months. I am more confused than I was the day I arrived. I have no idea how the hell this place works.
You're opening up the eyes and the ears of the Chicago people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Off it is this time to Rolling Meadows. Hi, Rolling. You're on the air, WLS.
Hello.
Hi.
Mr. Lassiter?
Yes.
Hi, this is my first time. I'm a little nervous. I'm calling about the immigration laws in the United States. And I realize that we have to feel rather sorry for the people that live in other countries. They're not as economically and politically advanced as we are, but I really feel that I guess what bothers me the most is why do we have to be Polish Americans and Italian Americans and African Americans? Why aren't we all just Americans?
It galls me too, to a degree. I don't lose any sleep over it, to tell you the truth, but it is a minor irritant to me.
Well, I think that I haven't lived in Chicago very long. I've only lived in Chicago for a few years. I've moved up from the East Coast, and I haven't never been exposed to some of the big city type of things that go on here in Chicago. For instance, when I go to the international terminal at Chicago O'Hare, I guess I feel kind of intimidated when I'm there because a lot of the people that are there are in their local costume, and I get kind of angry because I think, well, why can't you dress like an American?
Well, I can understand that at the international terminal at an airport. That seems to be perfectly within reason to me, but I'm not so comfortable with it on the streets in downtown.
And they gather and they talk in a language I can't understand, and they could be talking about me. I mean, even at my local bank, when I go in, the patrons that come into the bank all speak Lithuanian, and everybody speaks Lithuanian in the tellers, and you're standing in line, and you go up to the window, and as nice as the people are, they talk to each other across the window.
Well, you see, your fear is absolutely and totally and completely irrational and unreasonable, but that's besides the point. It's your fear. And you're a human being, and you're allowed to be fearful.
Well, I guess I'm kind of getting to the point in my life where I feel like I have this much space kind of surrounding me. It's kind of like that old psychological thing where this is my space, please don't invade it. This is all I have left.
I know where you're coming from, and I thank you very much for being part of the show. Good first-time call.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't like to hurt people, but I do hurt people because, again, I'm like everybody else, and I kind of go blundering through this life, far more concerned with my own good, my own welfare, and then that hurts people sometimes. And today, for some bizarre reason, I really don't know why, but for some bizarre reason, well, you know, my biorhythm says that I'm in an intellectual period in my life. I'll look out. That's going to last for about 2 weeks. But for some bizarre reason, today I just feel more confused than I think I've ever felt before in my entire life. I want all of my rights. And my rights, of course, include determining what's best for you. Which is absurd. That's crazy. I want the right to do what I want to do, go where I want to go. And yet I look around and I see when everybody does what they want to do and goes where they want to go, and it causes problems. And it tramples on other people. And that's not right. I see people who have causes that I think are silly little causes, like, you know, the lady with the perfume ads. But that's real important to her. Maybe it should be important to me, too. But I can't know everything. I can't be involved in everything. What should I be involved in? What's more important than other things? What's not as important? I don't know. I just don't know anymore. I'll probably know again by tomorrow, but that's beside the point. At least I will for 4 hours. You'll know better. You'll know that I don't really know. And that all I'm trying to do is to figure out what's the right thing to do. I hope you'll forgive me for my lapse here today into being a mere mortal like you. See you yourselves, would you? We'll do it again tomorrow at 3. By the way, Alderman Bobby Rush will be with me tomorrow. Take care. And yeah, love you, Chicago.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Lone.